What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be getting to my March 10th NCAA Bracketology Predictions. And guess what, guys? Only 3 more days until, if you want to be exactly, 3 more days and 58 minutes from this time of this recording for Selection Sunday, the show. Wow, we are almost there. I'm so excited for the tournament. Stay tuned. I'm going to be making Tomorrow, I'm actually going to be making my Jerry Palm bracketology predictions because just flip it up, see what he's got. And then Sunday, obviously, go back to my normal Joe Lendardi. But bracketology. So, yeah, every day until we get to Selection Sunday. And then, obviously, the big March Madness predictions, the big video right there. Stay tuned for that, obviously. But anyway, yeah, crazy champ week going on. Since my last video, which was on Wednesday, we have got some more automatic qualifiers here. And those are, I believe, Northern Kentucky, Colgate. I think Northern Kentucky actually was before, but anyway, Colgate, the Fighting Toothbrushes, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, and UNC Asheville. I think those are the 3. Maybe it's Northern Kentucky that punched their ticket as well. I'm not sure. But yeah, crazy. We're going to get some more punch tonight and tomorrow, obviously. A lot of conferences still have some games right now. But the bubble is really heating up now. So if we look at the bracket watch, top overall seed is Kansas. The first team out, we got Oklahoma State. And then the last team in, we have Arizona State, who just got a huge win against USC. And then Oklahoma State last night lost to Texas. So, man, that is a tough loss for Oklahoma State. Right now it is tight, but Arizona State is the team in right now. If they could beat Arizona tonight, that would be huge for their resume. They would probably be locked into the tournament at that point. But here we got the last 4 byes. Boise State just barely pulling off a win over UNLV. They were up by 20, but that game went to overtime. Boise State blew that lead, but they were able to survive. I think that they're pretty much locked up because they got a game against Utah State today. So I don't think that their resume should be affected too much if they lose that game. Then Providence, after losing to Xavier, they were fighting back, or not Xavier, it was Connecticut, yeah. They were fighting back in that game, but could not get enough to win it. So, tough loss for Providence. Then we got Penn State beating Illinois. They're probably locked up as well. I mean, huge win for them. Mississippi State has a good chance to make the tournament right now, but as I mentioned, they lost to Alabama earlier today by a lot, so maybe maybe they slip out of the tournament here. You never know, but I think that they deserve to be in the tournament at this point. Last for him, we got Rutgers. They fought today against Purdue, almost beat them, and obviously they beat Michigan down here, which basically eliminated Michigan's chances. So that was a huge win for Rutgers. And then we got Pittsburgh getting crushed by Duke last night. That is a tough loss for Pittsburgh to handle. But, yeah, Pittsburgh, I think we'll see what happens with Pittsburgh. I don't think that they're better than some of these teams here, but they got the better resume. So we're going to see if they can make the field. And then we got Utah State beating New Mexico yesterday. I mean, I got to go through a whole list with all these teams because it's that crazy. But anyway, Utah State, they beat New Mexico, eliminated New Mexico's chances of making the tournament. Huge win for Utah State. If they could beat Boise State tonight, I think that they're locked up. Losing it, they probably don't make the field, unfortunately. Utah State is a freaking good team, though, this season. An underrated team, I think. Then Arizona State, as I mentioned, beating USC. They're going to be in the field. Then obviously Oklahoma State, as I mentioned, losing to Texas. Then we got Clemson. They dominated NC State last night. They're right in the mix right now. They got a game against Virginia today. I'm not sure when. It's coming out. I think it's later tonight, but huge matchup for Clemson. If they could win that game, they deserve to be in the tournament here. They have fought ever since they lost to Louisville. They've been playing a lot better. And then Nevada. If you've been watching my bracketologies before, you know that I'm a huge fan of Nevada, but man, they've lost 3 bad games in a row here, losing to UNLV, I believe, Wyoming, and now San Jose State in the Mountain West. tournament, it's not looking good for Nevada's chances. I'm a big believer in Nevada if you've been watching my channel, but it's not going to be good enough here, I don't think. And then another team that just played themselves out of the tournament, we had Wisconsin losing to Ohio State. And as I need to mention this, Ohio State just beat Michigan State today. So Ohio State as a 13 seed, the lowest seed in the Big Ten to ever make it to the Big Ten semis. They are going to the semifinals tomorrow. A crazy Ohio State run that they're doing in the Big Ten, but they eliminated Wisconsin here. Wisconsin's probably done. Similar to North Carolina losing to Virginia. These teams, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Nevada, all have slight chances to make the tournament, but I wouldn't call it very good. North Carolina, obviously the preseason number one. I mean, if they missed the tournament, that would just be horrible for them. Then the next route, we got Oregon just barely beating Washington State to keep their season alive. Vanderbilt, I'm not sure what's going on with them. I think that they've won some games in the SEC tournament. They play Kentucky tonight, so huge game for them. They can beat Kentucky again. And then, as I mentioned, Michigan in a similar boat to Nevada, Wisconsin, and North Carolina, but even further out, they lost to Rutgers, a huge loss for Michigan. They're probably going to the NIT. All right, so that has probably been the longest bubble. That was 6 minutes. We're already 6 minutes, 30 seconds of the video. I guess it's just going to be a long video today. I mean, we got a lot to talk about here. But anyway, let's look at the movement here. New to the field is Arizona State here. Rutgers going to be dropping down to Pittsburgh going to be dropping down to the 11 seed. And then Texas A&M Corpus Christi going to be dropping down to the play-in game. But in the Midwest region here, we got USC jumping up to a 9 seed, even with the loss to Arizona State, I guess. Kansas has the number 1 seed. They got a big win against West Virginia last night. And then Alabama's the 1 seed right there. Iowa losing to Ohio State yesterday. Tough loss for them. They're going to be dropping down to an 8 seed. And then we got to mention TCU here getting a huge win over Kansas State. They played really good in this game. TCU is looking like a dangerous team come tournament. And then any other ones to mention here? Mississippi State, we already mentioned them. Marquette last night just barely beat, who was it? It's slipping. St. John's. They beat St. John's in overtime. St. John's had a shot to win it, but Marquette survives there. Purdue, as I mentioned earlier, they just barely beat today. They just barely beat Rutgers by 5. They had a battle back in that game. Big win for Purdue. And then in the East region here, we have Houston getting a win today against East Carolina. Arkansas going to be jumping up to an 8 seed. Illinois losing to Penn State, dropping down to a 9 seed. Still believe in that program, though. And obviously, Penn State jumping up to an 11 seed. And then this should be dropping down for Kansas State. They were a 3 seed earlier. They're going to be dropping down to 4 seed. And then UConn, I think, is replacing them at the 3 seed after beating it's Providence, sorry, yeah. And then Auburn going to be dropping down to a 10 seed there. And then Baylor, the number 2 seed, they lost to Iowa State 3 times this season, so they just lost to them. They're out of the Big 12 tournament, and Colgate going to be dropping down to a 15 seed. In the West region here, we have UCLA as the number 1 seed, getting a win against Colorado here. They got a game against, I believe, Washington's. Is it Washington? Oregon. Yeah, Oregon. And then Grambling State going to be new to the field. Jumping it to a 16 seed. And then Iowa State going to be, as I mentioned, beating Baylor. Big win for Iowa State right now. They're a 5 seed. Then we have Xavier just barely beating DePaul last night. They're going to be the 4 seed there, as well as Creighton getting a big win against Villanova last night. And then Missouri going to be jumping up to a 7 seed. They're in a battle right now with Tennessee. It's a tie game with 10 minutes left, so I'm going to be watching that game after. It's a big game for the SEC tournament. And yeah, Texas, as I mentioned, beating Oklahoma State. So that was a long bracket watch, guys, but a lot of just discuss, I guess. But let's get into the predictions here now. Starting out with Arizona State versus Utah State. And this is a really good matchup, but I'm going to go with Utah State. I think they're playing really good ball. in the Mountain West Conference, and I think that they can win that one. And then Southeast Missouri State, I think it beat Fairleigh Dickinson. I'm not a big fan of either of these teams, but Rutgers has earned my respect the past 2 games. I'm going to give them the win over Pittsburgh, who did not look good against Duke. And then Howard versus Texas A&M Corpus Christi, I'm going to go with Howard. All right, so 40 spot in the round of 32. Kansas, I do think, can handle their business against Northern Kentucky. Florida Atlantic against USC, a good matchup, but I'm going to go with Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic survived against Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee had a shot to win it earlier today, tie it, but Florida Atlantic just survived. A big win for them in the Conference USA tournament. All right, and then Miami versus Drake, a great matchup between a 5 seed and a 12 seed. What happened with Miami last? I believe that they beat they just barely beat Wake Forest. So, I'm going to go with an upset pick here. Let's go with Drake, the Bulldogs. They've only lost like 1 game since January here. They're playing really good basketball right now. Don't get me wrong, Miami's a really good team. I believe in them as a program, but Drake, I'm going to give them the upset. You got to go some upsets there. Indiana, I do think it beat Yale. And then one that I'm torn about is St. Mary's versus Utah State. I'm going to go with the upset pick here, but I could see this one going either way. Utah State coming off the first 4 game, I think that gives them a little bit more of an advantage. I would pick Arizona State in this game as well, but St. Mary's just did not impress me against Gonzaga. That could be a building block for them to get ready for this tournament, but it's still what my eyes see is that I think that Utah State can win that one. And then, as I mentioned, Tennessee beating Furman, Tennessee in a battle right now. Not the biggest believer in Tennessee, but I do think that they can handle their business against Furman. Northwestern, I do think it beat Providence, and Arizona, I think it beat UNC Asheville. All right, let's go down here. UCLA versus Grambling State. I'm going to go with UCLA. Maryland against Memphis, a really good matchup, and I'm going to go with Maryland. Or sorry, not Memphis, Maryland there. And then another 12 seed upset pick here. I kind of want to just scout out the other 12 seeds, see if it's worth it. You know what? Let's do it. I'm going to go Charleston. Charleston's a really freaking good team in the in their, I forgot the conference, Patriot League? No, that's Colgate. I'm sorry, I forgot what conference Charleston is in. But Charleston, really freaking good team here. Iowa State, obviously a really good team, but I think that Iowa State's very inconsistent. They could beat basically anybody in the country, but I think that they can always also lose to anybody in the country, and I think that Charleston could pull off the upset. All right, then I'm going to go with the 13 seed Utah Valley to pull off the upset over Xavier. Sorry, not the crazy tone there, but I'm just not the biggest fan of Xavier. They just barely beat DePaul last night. And Utah Valley, I've always believed in as a program here. I think that they could beat Xavier. This is just one of those upsets that I've been doing time and time again. So we got a 12 versus a 13 in the next round. But anyway, Creighton, I do think could beat Rutgers. Gonzaga, I think could hold off Louisiana. And Missouri against Boise State. I'm going to go with Missouri in that matchup, as well as Texas beating Montana State. All right, over here, Alabama versus Southeast Missouri State. I'm going to go with Alabama. Iowa against West Virginia. I'm going to go with the slight 9/8 upset. I think that Iowa's a really good team, but West Virginia also is. I'm going to go with them to win. And then TCU against VCU. I'm going with TCU. Virginia, I do think it'd be Iona. San Diego State against Mississippi State. Let's go with the upset pick here, or no, never mind. I'm going to go San Diego State to win that one. Even though San Diego State did not look great against Colorado State last night. Marquette, I do think it beat UC Irvine. Texas A&M, I think it beat TCU. I mean, sorry, not TCU, but NC State and Purdue, I think it beat Kennesaw State. So only like the 9/8 upset there in that region, but nothing really else. Down here, Houston, I think it beat Howard. Illinois, I think it pull off the 9/8 upset over Arkansas, as well as Duke beating Oral Roberts. Kansas State, I think it beat Iona. Kentucky, I think it beat Penn State. Connecticut, I think it beat Vermont. And then I'm going to go with another upset pick here. I'm going to go with Auburn to beat Michigan State. Really good Auburn team. Michigan State I'm not sold on, especially after losing to Ohio State earlier, just barely. I think that Michigan State, Auburn can win that one. And then Baylor, I think it beat Colgate. All right, so 40 spot in the Sweet 16, Kansas versus Florida Atlantic. I'm going with the Jayhawks. Indiana, I think, could beat Drake. Tennessee versus Utah State. I'm going to go with Utah State to make a big run here in the tournament here. Let's do it. Utah State, good, great team out of the Mountain West. They're playing really good basketball. Not the biggest fan of Utah State because I'm a BYU fan, but I think that Utah State can make a run in this tournament. Tennessee, I'm not a big believer in. I could even see Furman beating Tennessee there if I went a little bit crazy, but I'm going to go with Utah State to win that one. And then Northwestern versus Arizona, I'm going to go with Arizona. Down here, UCLA versus Maryland. I'm going to go with the 8-seed upset pick here. I'm going to go with Maryland to pull off the win over UCLA. Could this be a little bit crazy? Could this be me discrediting UCLA? Maybe, but I'm going to go with Maryland. I'm a huge believer in Maryland this season. Usually a 1 seed goes down here in the second round. And Maryland, why not have the upset pick? I really do like UCLA, though. No disrespect to them as a program. But you got to have some upsets here, and I'm going to go with Maryland. So chaos is reigning in this region here. Utah Valley versus Charleston. I will go with Charleston to advance on as a 12 seed. And then Creighton versus Gonzaga. I'm going to go with the Zags. And then Texas versus Missouri. I'm going to go with Texas to fall. Sorry, I had a seizure there. But anyway, do I go with Missouri? Man. No, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Texas in that game. Texas Longhorns are a really good team. Can't have them losing to that one. So I'm going to go with Texas. Then up here, Alabama, I think, can beat West Virginia. I'm going to go with Alabama. TCU, I think, can pull off the slight 5-4 upset there over Virginia. Marquette, I think, can beat San Diego State. And then do we go with the the Texas A&M over Purdue upset? I'm not going to do it, though. I'm going to go with Purdue. They were starting out bad against Rutgers, but they did come back. So I do believe in Purdue. I think they deserve to be in the Sweet 16 at least in my eyes. All right, but then Houston against Illinois. I'm going with Houston. Duke versus Kansas State, a really good matchup between these two. I believe in these two a lot. Kansas State's one of my favorite teams. The team I actually picked to win the Big 12. But obviously that was not a great take as they just lost. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Kansas State to win this one. UConn versus Kentucky. I'm gonna go with UConn. Then Auburn versus Baylor. I'm gonna go with Baylor. All right, so let's go over here. 40 spot in the Elite Eight. Kansas versus Indiana. I'm going to go with Kansas in that matchup, although that one, I picked Indiana last time. That one could go either way. I'm a big fan of both those teams. Utah State versus Arizona. I will go with Arizona to end Utah State's run. Then we got a matchup between an 8 seed and a 12 seed in this one between Maryland against Charleston. I'm going to have to go with the Terps, though. As much as I would like to see Charleston in the Elite Eight, Maryland, I think, deserves that win. And then Gonzaga versus Texas, I'm going to go with the Longhorns. I flip it up from last time as I went with Gonzaga. All right, over here, Alabama versus TCU. I'm going to go with the 5-1 upset. TCU looked very impressive. I know Alabama just crushed Mississippi State today, but Alabama's just an inconsistent team this season. Let's just be honest. They've been inconsistent lately. And TCU, on the other hand, oh my, what a win against Kansas State. They were dominant in that game. Really just were controlling TCU from start to finish. So I'm going to go with Alabama. Marquette versus Purdue. A 3 seed versus a 2 seed. I'm going to go with the Boilermakers to win that one. And then down here, Houston versus Kansas State. As much as I'd like to see Kansas State advance, I'm going to go with Houston. And then UConn versus Baylor. I'm going to go with the 3-seeded UConn to win that one. All right, so 40 spot in the Final Four, Kansas versus Arizona. As much as I like Arizona as a team, I am going to go with the Jayhawks to advance. And then Maryland versus Texas. Let's go crazy here. I'm going to go with the 8-seeded Maryland. Why the heck not? Maryland, if they could beat UCLA, I think that they could beat anyone else in this region here. The Maryland Terps, go on a crazy run to the Elite Eight. Texas, no disrespect to them, but I think that their season's going to come to an end against Maryland. My oh my, was not expecting that coming into the video, but just winging it as I always do. And then TCU versus Purdue, I'm going to go with the Horned Frogs to advance as a 5 seed. And then Houston versus UConn. I'm going to go with the 3-seeded UConn. I'm a big believer in UConn. I was not earlier this year. Believe it or not, I was one of the, like, even when UConn was the 1 seed, I was like the biggest non-believer in UConn. But it's crazy how opinions can change after watching UConn. They're just on fire right now. So, as no disrespect to Houston, but I'm going to go with UConn. So, a wild video right now. I mean, this has been the longest bracketology I've made, like in a forever, 20 minutes so far. But we are finally in the Final Four. We got a 1 seed in Kansas. We got a 3 seed in UConn, a 5 seed in TCU, and an 8 seed in Maryland. Wonky stuff here in this bracketology. But Kansas versus Maryland, I do think that Maryland's run is going to come to an end to Kansas, though. I'm going with the Jayhawks. And then TCU versus UConn. I kind of want to go with TCU, but I am going to go with Connecticut to advance on. That game could go either way, though, in my eyes. But for a spot for the championship, Kansas versus Connecticut. And I'm going to give this one to the Jayhawks. They're the best team in the country in my eyes as of right now. We'll see who I pick in the tournament. I mean, in the actual NCAA tournament right now, I'm going with Kansas. Sorry. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your predictions. Sorry about that long video, but we had a lot to talk about at this bracketology. Anyway, peace out.